Hold your breath, ARMY, because what you're about to experience isn't just another list. This is the ultimate emotional roller coaster, a heart-racing countdown that dives deep into the bond between BTS members and their beloved fans in the United States. Forget the usual awards, brand deals, or stage moments. This is personal. This is about love. Real, honest, soul-touching love. From sold-out stadiums in Los Angeles to teary-eyed fan signs in New York, from late-night interviews on US talk shows to spontaneous Weverse replies that shook entire fandoms, this countdown is soaked in raw emotion, true appreciation, and sometimes even unspeakable silence that said more than words ever could. You think you know your bias? Think again. Because what happens behind the scenes, when the camera isn't rolling, when the crowd has left, and the stage lights have dimmed, is often where the most powerful fan-idol connections are born. And in this episode, we're peeling back the curtain, revealing moments you never saw, messages you never noticed, and stories that will change the way you see your bias forever. How do we measure love? Is it through the way they look at their fans with tears in their eyes during encore stages? Is it in the lyrics they write with trembling hands at 3 a.m., thinking of your struggles? Or maybe, just maybe, it's in the tiny, invisible gestures, the way they whisper thank you under their breath, the way they bow 90 degrees even when no one is watching, or the way their voice cracks when they say, "I'll miss you," at the end of a tour. And yes, this is about the US fans. Because let's be real, BTS didn't just conquer charts in America, they conquered hearts. From Jimmy Fallon to the Grammys, from the United Nations speech to Times Square, the US became a second home, a stage of transformation, of vulnerability, of milestones. And fans in America? They gave back more than just cheers. They gave loyalty, sleepless nights, billboards in Times Square, airport banners in freezing winters, and letters that traveled oceans just to say, thank you. But which BTS member gave the most back? Who built an invisible bridge between Seoul and Seattle, between their heart and yours? Who held your emotions the tightest? Who said with their actions, I see you, I love you, and I'll never forget what you've done for me? Well, this list has the answers, and they may not be what you expect. Because today, we're not ranking vocals, not visuals, not dancing kings or rap gods. Today, we're ranking souls. So grab your tissues, hold your bias tight, and make sure your heart is ready, because by the end of this list, you'll find yourself falling in love all over again. This is the BTS member ranking by the depth of their emotional bond and love for their US fans, and trust me, you won't see number 1 coming. Let's begin. Number 7, RM, the philosopher who listens. It might surprise some fans to see RM at number 7, but don't let the ranking fool you. Kim Namjoon's connection with US fans is deep, thoughtful, and quietly powerful. Unlike the louder, more flamboyant displays of affection some members are known for, RM expresses his love like a poet, writing in the margins of a well-worn book. It's subtle, introspective, almost sacred. Remember his speech at the United Nations in 2018? That was a turning point. RM wasn't just representing BTS, he was speaking directly to a global audience, many of whom were US fans grappling with identity, self-love, and the noise of growing up in a digital world. Speak yourself, he said. 3 simple words that turned into a movement. Tumblr blogs, TikTok videos, college essays, even tattoos all sprouted from that moment. American fans felt seen, heard, and validated in a way that went far beyond music. But it didn't stop there. Throughout every American tour, RM became the de facto translator, bridging language gaps with elegance. Not because he had to, but because he wanted every fan in the room to understand. To feel, to be part of it. His interviews with American outlets weren't just about promoting albums. They were acts of service, moments where he carried the band's sincerity on his shoulders like Atlas holding the sky. There's also the book clubs, the museum visits, the quiet walks through Central Park. Did you know RM once spent an entire off day in New York City just exploring libraries and old record shops, and later posted about it, thanking American fans for letting him be his introverted self in public? No security bubble, no crowd frenzy. Just a man and a city that gave him room to breathe. Fans respected that, and in return, he opened up more than ever before. And then, there are the letters. American armies have shared countless stories of how RM's lyrics saved them, especially in a country where mental health can be a lonely battle. Songs like Reflection and Everything Owes became soundtracks to survival for fans battling depression, anxiety, and identity crises. And when RM found out about this, he didn't brush it off. He doubled down, often responding with Weverse messages, live stream confessions, and album liner notes that read like pages from a therapist's diary. He didn't just acknowledge the pain, he shared it. Still, RM's love isn't always front and center. He's the kind of person who'll let others take the spotlight, choosing instead to sit in the background watching, protecting, guiding. His connection with US fans is more like a lighthouse than a firework. Always there, quietly glowing, ready to guide you home when the world feels dark. And in a country as vast and complex as the US, that kind of quiet strength matters more than most people realize. He may not be the loudest or most expressive, but for thousands of US fans, RM is the heartbeat they lean on when everything else feels too loud. A philosopher, a protector, a friend who listens when no one else does. And that's why he holds this place on our list, not because he loves less, but because he loves differently. Number 6. Suga, the unexpected soft spot. You didn't see this one coming, did you? Min Yoongi, the fierce rapper, the quiet genius, the producer who often hides behind his studio walls sliding into number 6 on a list about love and connection. But let's make one thing clear. Suga's love for US fans isn't loud, it isn't shiny, it isn't even obvious sometimes, but it's real, deep. And when it shows, it hits harder than any beat drop he's ever made. To understand Suga's bond with American armies, you have to rewind. Go back to the early tour's cramped venues, exhausting schedules, jet lag that would flatten anyone. Suga wasn't always comfortable in the spotlight, especially in a foreign country where the language and culture felt miles away from home. But that discomfort? It became the soil where something beautiful grew. Because the more Suga saw US fans waiting for hours in the cold, screaming lyrics in perfect Korean, holding up signs that said, "You saved me," something shifted in him. The walls began to crack, and through those cracks, light poured in. Fans noticed it. During the Wings tour in the US, there were moments when Suga would just stop. Mid-performance, he'd freeze for a second, scanning the crowd with this unreadable expression like he was overwhelmed, but trying not to show it. And then came the smiles. Tiny, fleeting, but genuine. American fans lived for those. They were proof that behind the stoic mask was someone who felt everything, just in his own quiet way. And then came his solo concerts under the August D tour, and this was where the real connection crystallized. In places like Newark, Los Angeles, and Chicago, US fans got to see Suga raw, vulnerable, emotional. When he performed Amygdala, you could hear sobs in the crowd. And when he looked up and saw American armies crying with him, not out of pity, but because they understood, he choked up too. "You guys are my therapy," he said in one show. That wasn't a scripted line. That was a man laying his soul bare. One unforgettable moment happened in New York. After a thunderous encore, the crowd refused to leave. They kept chanting, "Suga! Suga!" long after the music stopped. Suga stood there, biting his lip, shaking his head in disbelief. "I'm not good at expressing emotions," he said, "but you guys make me want to try." That was the moment, the one fans will never forget. Suga also gave us one of the most tender Weverse letters during a US leg of a tour. He thanked fans not just for showing up, but for caring about his music, for studying his lyrics, for listening to his mixtapes like they were treasure maps. "Even when I doubt myself, you believe in me," he wrote. It was brief, but every word dripped with sincerity. That message spread across US Army accounts like wildfire, with fans calling it the most Min Yoongi way to say "I love you." But perhaps the strongest indicator of his love is in how he works. Suga doesn't chase attention, he builds things for the people who pay attention. Every layered beat, every whispered lyric, every perfectly timed pause, it's crafted for fans who listen. And US armies? They listen, deeply, intimately. They've become part of his process, his rhythm, his reason. So no, Suga might not jump into the crowd or spam heart emojis in fan calls. But ask any US Army who's ever locked eyes with him during a concert, or read his translated tweets at 3 a.m., or cried to his verses when life got too heavy, and they'll tell you, his love is the kind that stays with you, quiet but unforgettable. Number 5. J-Hope, the sunshine who never forgets. If there's a beating heart of joy in BTS, it's Jungkook, the one we call J-Hope. His name itself is a promise. Hope, and to US armies, that promise has never been broken. Because beyond the bright smile, the fluid dance moves, and the viral hope on the street moments, J-Hope has always been there, present, sincere, and radiating warmth that cuts through even the coldest nights. You see, it's easy to think of J-Hope as the fun one, the energetic hype man, the guy who screams "make some noise" in every stadium across the globe. But the connection he has with American fans isn't just built on hype, it's built on history. Go back to their early visits to the US, when they were still rookies performing in small theaters. Even then, Hobie was the one making eye contact with the last row. the one reaching out toward the fans holding handmade banners in the dark. He remembered the signs, the slogans, the tears, and he carried those memories into every stage that followed. Take the Love Yourself tour, particularly the Staples Center shows in LA. Thousands of ARMYs were already emotional from the opening VCR. But when J-Hope appeared with Trivia, Just Dance, the energy hit a fever pitch. He didn't just perform, he connected. At one point, he saw a fan sobbing in the crowd, paused, and pointed directly at them while mouthing, "Don't cry." That fan later posted the moment online, and the clip went viral. But what mattered more wasn't the views, it was the way J-Hope made someone in a sea of thousands feel seen. That's his gift. And then came Lollapalooza 2022, a moment that still gives goosebumps. The first Korean artist to headline one of the biggest American music festivals. The stakes were sky high, expectations even higher. But J-Hope didn't just show up, he owned the stage. US fans braved the heat, the rain, the long waits just to see him. And he gave them everything. From More to Daydream, he poured out his soul, tearing down any doubts that he could stand solo. But what people still talk about today is what he said after the show. He posted on Weverse, "You made me believe in myself. Thank you for waiting, for cheering, for being my strength." That message wasn't just for the fans who stood in the mud that night. It was for every American ARMY who had supported him since day one, who had streamed his mixtape Hope World when it first dropped, who had defended him when the industry didn't understand his style. J-Hope remembers, always. His interactions with US fans are filled with those tiny, intimate details. Like when he visited New York and quietly went to the MoMA to take in art and fans that didn't mob him, but instead left sticky notes outside the building thanking him for his inspiration. Or the time he randomly popped into a US live stream, wearing a hoodie and no makeup, just to say, "Hi, are you doing okay?" No script, no agenda, just pure love. J-Hope's love language isn't always loud, but it is constant. From dance workshops in LA where he'd encourage young fans to keep pursuing their dreams, to letters written in broken but heartfelt English, thanking ARMYs for their energy, he's the kind of idol who gives back. Not just through content, but through presence. And let's not forget his enlistment moment when he specifically posted his farewell photo with a message in English for international fans. "See you soon. Stay healthy. Stay happy." It was simple. But it broke hearts across the US, because it felt like a friend saying goodbye before a long journey. Fans cried not just because he was leaving, but because he cared enough to say it directly to them in their language. So, when you talk about idols who love their fans, don't skip over J-Hope. Because behind the laughter, the vibrant fits, and the dancing shoes, is a man who never forgets where his sunshine shines the brightest. And for millions of American ARMYs, that sun rises with him every single day. Number 4, V, the mystery that melts for fans. Kim Taehyung, the enigma, the fashion icon, the deep-voiced vocalist with eyes like vintage cinema and a smile that could disarm the coldest of hearts. To the untrained eye, V may seem distant, mysterious even, but if you're a U.S. ARMY, you already know. Behind the soulful glances and poetic silence lies one of the most devoted hearts in all of BTS. There's something magnetic about V's relationship with American fans. It's hard to define because Taehyung doesn't say love, he shows it. And he shows it in a language that goes beyond Korean, beyond English, a language made of gazes, gestures, subtle choices, and the way he always finds the camera when someone needs him the most. Let's talk about those tours. Whether it's in LA, Chicago, Vegas, or Newark, V has this uncanny ability to spot the quietest fans in the crowd, the ones holding small signs, the ones who aren't screaming the loudest, but are hoping with all their hearts for a moment. And he gives it to them. A wave, a smirk, a V sign, sometimes even a full-on eye lock that feels like time just stopped. There are hundreds of clips online, shaky phone recordings with captions like "Taehyung looked at me, and I forgot how to breathe." He doesn't just perform, he connects like he's the only person in a 60,000-seat stadium who sees you. But it's not just on stage. American ARMYs fell even deeper for Taehyung during BTS's US promo circuits, the late-night interviews, the talk shows, the red carpets. Who could forget his iconic moment at the Grammy red carpet, where he turned to the camera, winked, and said, "I purple you?" The internet exploded. That wasn't a planned fan service line, it was Taehyung speaking to the fans behind the cameras, letting them know, "I haven't forgotten you, not for a second." And then there's his love for jazz, for vintage, for old-school Americana. Fans in the US often feel a strange but beautiful closeness to V because of his aesthetic, the way he dresses like a New Yorker from the 1950 seconds or drops references to artists like Chet Baker and Van Gogh. It's like he's always had one foot in Seoul and the other in Manhattan. And when he posts about his favorite jazz, vinyls, or visits museums in the States, fans don't just feel flattered, they feel understood, as if their culture became part of his inner world. Taehyung's solo work also speaks volumes. Winter Bear, a song fully in English, was written and directed by him. A quiet, melancholic gift to fans around the world, but especially to the English-speaking ones who often feel left out. He didn't have to sing in English, but he chose to, because he knew it would feel more intimate, more direct. And the response? Tremendous. Fans in the US called it a lullaby for the broken-hearted, a comfort blanket wrapped in melody. And when the pandemic hit and tours were cancelled, V took to Weverse late at night. Quietly, lovingly, he replied to American armies who missed seeing him, reassuring them, teasing them, comforting them. He wrote in English. Not perfect, but real. Sometimes with a translator app, sometimes straight from his heart. I miss you too. Don't be sad. We will meet again. And the way he added little hearts and bear emojis. That's the kind of tenderness you don't fake. But the most unforgettable Taehyung moment with US fans? Arguably, it was the permission to dance on stage concerts in LA. When V walked through the crowd during Telepathy, mask on, eyes twinkling, fans said it felt like a dream. He high-fived strangers. He blew kisses. He paused just to take in the fans' signs. One fan wrote, "I was depressed for 2 years, but when he looked at me, I felt alive again." That's not just fan service, that's healing. So, while V may not always be the most talkative, his love for US fans runs deep. It's embedded in his art, his gaze, his stillness. It's the kind of love that doesn't need explanation, only presence. And in this great symphony that is BTS, V is the violin, quiet, soulful, unforgettable. 3 left. It's getting intense. Shall we go to number 3? Number 3, Jungkook, the devoted dreamer who grew up with us. Now this is where things start to get really emotional. Because coming in at number 3 is none other than Jungkook, the golden maknae, the all-rounder, the phenomenon. The boy who once shyly stood at the back during interviews is now the man headlining global charts, and through every step of that transformation, US fans weren't just watching, they were with him, guiding him, growing with him, loving him. Let's rewind to the earliest BTS trips to America. Jungkook was barely an adult, barely fluent in English, but the moment he stepped off those planes at LAX or JFK, he had a look in his eyes like, "This is bigger than I imagined, and I'm going to give it everything." He was the youngest member in a foreign country. Surrounded by a culture he admired from afar, hip-hop, fashion, sports, pop culture, and he took it all in like a sponge. But what made US fans fall for him wasn't just his curiosity. It was his gratitude. Even when he barely had the words, he bowed, smiled, and gave his all. Over the years, American armies witnessed a metamorphosis. Jungkook didn't just grow taller, stronger, and more confident, he grew more open, more expressive. From the heart-pounding Euphoria performances that lit up MetLife Stadium to the emotionally raw My Time stage in LA, where he stood under purple lighting, drenched in sweat and sincerity, looking straight into the crowd with trembling lips, it was clear, this wasn't just a concert. This was a thank you to the fans who believed in him long before the Grammys and solo hits. And let's talk about the fan love. Jungkook never plays it cool when it comes to fans. He reads what they say. He notices their signs. During US tours, he's been known to change his outfits mid-show just because a fan complimented a shirt. He stayed up until 4 a.m. during New York time just to sing on Weverse Live, saying, "I missed you," in the most casual, heartbreaking way possible. One time, a fan in Chicago wrote on a sign, "You're my strength." Jungkook saw it, nodded, and during the encore, looked back and whispered, "You're mine too." No mic, just lips. But fans caught it, it became legend. And then there's the solo debut era. 7, Standing Next to You, 3D, all songs that climbed Billboard charts, dominated Spotify playlists, and made even American radio bow down to his artistry. But even amidst all that global noise, Jungkook kept circling back to his fans. He said in an interview, "I'm proud of the numbers, but I'm more thankful that people listen, especially fans in the US. You supported me like I was yours. That means everything." Let's not forget when Jungkook flew to the US alone for a Calvin Klein campaign shoot. He wasn't just doing brand work. He took time to interact, to notice the American armies waiting outside the hotel, the airport, the shoot locations. He waved, smiled, bowed. One fan even recalled him saying, "Thank you for waiting for me, always." That moment? It melted an entire fandom. And yes, we have to talk about New York. That city is special for Jungkook. He's mentioned before that it's where he feels a sense of freedom. And that freedom is us, the fans. The people who welcomed him without judgment, celebrated his tattoos instead of questioning them, vibed with his vocal style, and showed up rain or shine to scream his name in every borough. But perhaps the most unforgettable connection came during a live stream when a US fan commented, "Your music helped me survive." Jungkook paused, looked directly into the camera, and whispered, "No, you helped me become me." That's Jungkook. He doesn't just accept love, he returns it tenfold. His story is our story. His growth is our growth. And while he may be a global icon now, to US fans, he'll always be the boy who looked at us with wide eyes and stayed because he felt our hearts. Number 2, Jimin, the angel who loves like no one else. Here we are, number 2, and if your heart isn't already trembling, it's about to be, because this is the chapter that's going to leave you breathless. Park Jimin, the heartbeat of BTS, the comforter, the protector, the man who, time and time again, has laid his soul bare for US fans in ways that feel almost too sacred to speak out loud. Let's be clear, Jimin doesn't just love fans, he lives for them, and for American armies, that love has never felt distant. Even from oceans away, Jimin's affection has always cut through the noise raw, emotional, and profoundly human. You don't just feel like a fan with Jimin, you feel like family. Flashback to BTS's very first US appearances. Jimin was young, still figuring out his stage presence in this new landscape. He was worried about his language, about cultural barriers. But he tried, every single time. Fans noticed how he'd rehearse English lines over and over, how he'd lean in during interviews to understand more, how he'd grip the mic with trembling fingers just to say, "I love you." And the moment he heard American fans scream back, that was it. The bond was sealed. Over the years, that bond only grew stronger. In the 2017 Wings tour, there was a moment in Newark where Jimin, overwhelmed by the crowd's chant of, "We love you," suddenly stopped singing, covered his face, and began to cry. He later said backstage that he never expected to feel so much love in a place so far from home. But that's Jimin. He's never numb to affection. He receives it like a gift and then returns it with interest. And oh, how he returns it. Remember the fan meetings where Jimin would bend down to read every sign? Or the countless fan cams from American concerts, where he'd lock eyes with fans in the very back of the stadium and blow kisses like they were right in front of him. That's not showmanship, that's devotion. And let's not even start on how he scans the crowd for crying fans and mouths, "Don't cry," while his own eyes shimmer with tears. Then there's his legendary solo journey. Face, his debut album, was a love letter, and US fans received it with arms wide open. It was American armies who trended "Set Me Free" past 2 for days. Who dissected every lyric in like crazy. Who posted sleepless breakdowns on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter not because the songs were catchy, but because they were honest. Jimin opened wounds in those songs, and fans didn't just listen, they held him. That kind of mutual healing, it's priceless. And Jimin knows it. During every stop of the Permission to Dance on Stage concerts in the US, Jimin went beyond fan service. He didn't just smile and wave, he felt with the crowd. In LA, during Life Goes On, he spotted a section of fans holding signs saying, "You saved me." He teared up mid-note. Later, backstage, he said in Korean, "I hope I can be someone who deserves that kind of love." The humility. The weight of responsibility he carries for the emotions of others, that's what makes him different. His US fan interactions are legendary. Like the time he waited an extra 10 minutes after a fan call to make sure the translator could pass along his final message. Or how he often learns English phrases just to connect better. Or the way he always says, "I purple you," with his whole chest, as if he invented the phrase. Or when he personally thanked American fans on Weverse for their letters during the pandemic, even though he didn't have to, even though we never expected a reply. And perhaps the most defining moment, that silent video. You remember it. Jimin sitting in a dark hotel room, no makeup, no fancy outfit, just his voice and a shaky camera. He looked into the lens and whispered, "Are you okay? I think about you guys a lot, I miss you." He didn't name a country, but we knew that message was for us, and it shattered us. Jimin is a man of emotion. He wears his heart not just on his sleeve but in his smile, his words, his presence. And to US fans, he's never been just a pop star. He's been a friend, a guardian angel, a source of light on the darkest days. So yes, Jimin is number 2. But not because he didn't love enough. It's just that there's one more whose connection is simply unmatched. Ready to find out who made it to number 1? This is the moment. Just say the word. Number 1, Jin, the heart that belongs to you. And now, we've arrived. The final name, the soul that outshone even the brightest stars, the one who quietly, consistently, and wholeheartedly poured his love into the hearts of US fans without ever demanding anything in return. Kim Seokjin, Jin the eldest, the protector, the one with the silvery laugh and tear-glass eyes, the member who stood by the back, but whose love, it reached the furthest. You might ask, why Jin? Why number one? Was he the loudest? No. The most flamboyant? No. But love, real love, doesn't need volume, it needs truth. And Jin's love for American armies is the most tender, most human, most sincere kind of truth there is. From the earliest moments of BTS's rise in the US, Jin was often underestimated, overshadowed. But US fans, oh, they saw him, they chose him, and he never forgot that. In fan signs, in concerts, in live streams, he would always say things like, "You notice me, thank you." It sounds simple, but coming from Jin, it meant everything. Because what he was really saying was, "You made me believe I was enough." There's this beautiful, unspoken language between Jin and US armies. It isn't built on flash, it's built on presence, on showing up, on inside jokes, flying kisses, goofy faces, and then without warning, a sudden look of deep vulnerability, a crack in the smile, a pause in his words. That's how you know Jin is speaking from the core. And for American fans, he's done that more times than we can count. Remember the Love Yourself, Speak Yourself tour in America. Jin's endingments, those final speeches at the end of the concerts, were never scripted. He would ramble, fumble, laugh, cry. But in every single one, he always made sure to look at the entire stadium and say in English, "Thank you, I love you so much." One night in LA, he forgot his lines, laughed it off, and then out of nowhere, said, "I will never forget tonight, because you made me feel like I'm important." The crowd went silent, then erupted. Because in that moment, he wasn't worldwide handsome, he was just Jin, and he was ours. But his connection didn't stop there. When the pandemic hit, Jin was relentless in his effort to reach fans in the US. He stayed up late for live chats, made silly videos, cooked meals on camera, sang covers at 2 a.m. for us. Not for clicks, not for fame, but because he missed you. He said it openly. "American fans, I want to visit again. I dream of seeing you soon." And when he finally did in Permission to Dance on Stage, LA, it was like watching someone find a lost part of themselves. His smiles were wider, his voice soared higher. He waved longer. And after the last bow, as they were leaving the stage, he turned back one last time, looked into the sea of purple lights, and whispered something that still echoes across fandoms. "You waited for me, thank you." And then came his solo debut, The Astronaut, a song not just co-written with Coldplay, but made for the fans who gave him wings. The song is filled with messages about longing, belonging, and the joy of finding your way back home. When he performed it live with Coldplay in Buenos Aires, he gave a special shout-out to international fans, especially in America, for making the song chart and stream like wildfire. "I felt your support even from far away," he said, "and I won't forget it." Then, before his enlistment, he left gifts. US fans received letters, shout-outs, Weverse updates, even private messages during fan calls where he said, "Please wait for me, I'll come back and see you again. Let's make more memories." He made sure that even while he was gone, we wouldn't feel alone. But perhaps what truly places Jin at number one is the kind of love he gives. It's not about fan service, it's not about performance, it's about consistency. He doesn't just love when it's convenient. He loves when it's hard, when he's tired, when he's hurting, and even then, he still smiles for you. American armies have often said that Jin is like a warm light in the fog, steady, bright, and always there when you need him. And he knows it, he honors it, he cherishes it. So, yes, out of 7 incredible souls, Jin stands at the top of this list not because his love is louder, but because it's deeply felt, timeless, undeniable. And if you're reading this right now, holding your chest, blinking back tears, whispering, "I miss you," into your screen, just know, he misses you too. And one day soon, he'll be back on that stage, under the same sky, looking into your eyes and saying, "I never forgot."